10 years in prison for a peaceful protest. That's the maximum sentence Alex, Marco, and George could now face after RCMP recently alleged that these three were, quote, key participants of the Coutts blockade. But if you're like the tens of thousands of Albertans who demonstrated against draconian COVID rules and vaccine mandates over the last 2 years, you can do something to stand up and show the Crown that this prosecution of those against COVID mandates needs to end. The truckers began a blockade at the Coutts Sweetgrass International border crossing to show support of solidarity with the Freedom Convoy to Ottawa. They, like millions of Canadians, have had enough of vaccine mandates and saw that now was the time to stand. Kian K2 Simone and myself, Sid Fizard, were embedded within this blockade from the moment we arrived until the very end. On the beginnings of the Coutts blockade, Williamson Law had tirelessly worked as a mediator between RCMP and demonstrators. Currently, they're assisting with the preparations for a statement of claim for 3 excavators that were sabotaged by RCMP near Coutts, and now, as we've previously reported on, they will be defending these 3 men charged with mischief. But the only way this is possible for Williamson Law to defend these guys is through your support at truckerdefensefund.ca, an initiative we've started at Rebel News to provide free legal defense for those allegedly involved in the Coutts blockade demonstrations. The 3 men are to appear at the Lethbridge Courthouse on November 4th, at which point it will be determined how the court will proceed. It's expected that the Crown will attempt to elect to have these charges tried by indictment, meaning that the max penalty of 10 years in prison, that may well and more likely is going to be pursued than anything else, which means that these 3 who were alleged to be key participants, they could spend 10 years behind bars for their alleged involvement in the Coutts blockade. I'm going to tell you a lot more about this campaign and all the different things that you can do to help support these guys. But right now, I'm going to share with you a recent interview we did with Chad Williamson of Williamson Law on what's going to happen with these 3 guys come November 4th.
The situation is essentially that they've been charged with mischief over 5,000 for their alleged participation in the Coutts border blockade that happened earlier this year. On October 4th, there was essentially just pleas of not guilty, appearance of counsel, and everything was put off pending some discussions between the Crown and my office. Now, Williamson Law is representing these folks. Now, everything's been put off until November 4th, which is the next court date down in Lethbridge. We expect the Crown to elect to have this tried by indictment rather than summary offense. Now, a lot of the fight the fines, which were COVID tickets, and a lot of the trucker defense files that we've gotten are all summary offenses, which means that they're heard in provincial court. They usually don't carry a very, very serious penalty to them, and they're tried in a different fashion. An indictable offense, those are reserved for what are considered to be more serious offenses that carry potential serious penalties attached to them. So we believe that the Crown will be electing to have these 3 folks matter heard by indictment. Now, we also understand that the Crown might want to move this out of Lethbridge. We haven't formulated an opinion on that to this point, but it's expected that we want that to stay in Lethbridge. Frankly, I think if there are protests or if there is a high degree of attention that is given to this case, I think that's going to follow them anywhere they decide to move this trial, if that's the court's decision. So November 4th will be interesting. We're also likely going to elect to have this heard by a jury. At least that is the position of the defense. So we'll see where that goes as we move forward to on November 4th.
As Chad mentions, if this is in fact tried by indictment, that means this charge of mischief will be considered a serious offense with serious penalties. Again, that brings me back to the 10 years they could spend behind bars for their alleged involvement in a peaceful protest. And as Chad mentions, the prosecutor supposedly wants to move the case out of Lethbridge because of the abundance of local support that we've seen so far. And in terms of support, truckerdefensefund.ca is where you have to go if you want to help provide these guys with a free legal defense. This could get up to the hundreds of thousands of dollars in order to fight for these guys in court. But I know there are a lot of people out there who would wish to see the COVID prosecutions end. And maybe this is the moment where we can make that happen. But donations aren't the only way that you can help. There's a multitude of things that everyone can do. Either you can donate to their legal defense, you can help us set up a billboard for public awareness, you can sign the petition that we'll be sending to Danielle Smith to tell her that she needs to provide amnesty for these individuals. And on top of that, you can send her an email directly telling her that she needs to consider the validity of these charges. She needs to defend the very same demonstrators who fought for the things that she now advocates for, who put it all on the line to protest vaccine mandates and COVID restrictions. And now that she's coming around to do her amnesty campaign, her apology to her, well, she better make a stop at the truckers because they're the ones who put her into the position that she now has. So if you agree with that, sign the petition that we're going to drop off to her doorstep. Email her directly through truckertrial.ca where the link will be set up, and you can tell her exactly what's on your mind and exactly what she needs to do if she does actually want to provide COVID amnesty for Albertans.
We'll be covering this story extensively to bring you the latest as it happens. But I want to remind you, if you're one of the thousands of Albertans who showed up to demonstrate against these COVID restrictions, if you want to donate to help provide a legal defense for those who continue to be prosecuted politically for these charges and for the situation that happened in the Coutts blockade area, well, you got to go to truckerdefensefund.ca. For Rebel News, Sydney Fizard. Here at Rebel News, we're gearing up to help Williamson Law, and we're providing a free legal defense for these three individuals. Now, this could get expensive. This could get up to the hundreds of thousands of dollars. But I think, especially for everybody who was there, the thousands of individuals who stood at the Coutts blockade to show how tired they were of these draconian mandates, that it's damn well worth it. So if you want to help these guys out, you got to go to truckerdefensefund.ca.